Assalamu alaikum guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, as you can probably tell by the title, I'm going to be sharing with you my conversion, reversion to Islam story. If you have been sticking around to my channel for long enough, then you've already seen similar video. I've already filmed a video, How I Convert to Islam, part 1 and 2, but it's a very old video. I think it was one of the first videos I've ever filmed, maybe second or first video. So it's super old, probably about 4 or 5 years old. So I definitely feel like those who are new to my channel, they may not ever even come across that video, and those of you who have, you know that it's the quality is not very good. The way I speak is very different from the way I speak now, because obviously I was young and shy and totally new to YouTube. So I feel like it's a good idea just to refilm this video, as it was literally the most popular video that I had ever filmed. So definitely a lot of people are looking for this type of video. Maybe you are the one who's just looking into Islam and thinking whether it's for you or not, or maybe you are a born Muslim who's looking for some inspiration, because I think nothing kicks a born Muslim in the butt and makes them pray 5 times a day and makes them read the scripture than seeing a person from a completely different culture, from a completely different religion, finding Islam, loving it, and just opening their hearts to it. So whatever's your reason, just keep on watching. So originally I am Lithuanian. I think in my first video I didn't mention that. I didn't want to mention that because let's just say that Islam is not very popular in Lithuania or in Eastern Europe in general. So I just didn't really want to be looked upon negatively from, you know, my fellow Lithuanians. But since then I had met so many amazing Lithuanians, especially great revert Lithuanians. So I know that a lot of you are actually watching my videos, so hi, labas. And yeah, I hope that, you know, if you didn't know where I'm from, well, now you know. So I was born in a little town in Lithuania. It's like a northern part of Lithuania, and there were definitely no Muslims around at all. In fact, there are not really many Muslims in Lithuania. I think there are 2 mosques in the capital and the city next to the capital called Kaunas, but they are like really tiny and they're not like constantly open. I think they only open for Friday mass prayer. So that's sort of the background, you know, when it comes to Islam and me being raised in Lithuania. The important thing to note is that it's not only that we don't have Muslims in Lithuania, we don't really have much of a diversity in general. We don't have people from different ethnic, religious, cultural backgrounds. Everyone is pretty much made out of the same cloth. So, you know, considering that, for me, then to come to Glasgow in the UK when I was about 19 years old was a really big change. But I've always considered myself a citizen of the world, which is again very different from sort of more older Lithuanian mentality. I always considered myself free. I didn't consider myself to be Lithuanian first. I always considered myself being, you know, a human, a woman, and yeah, like I said, just a citizen of the world. I felt like I can go anywhere I want, experience all these different cultures, talk to everybody. I never felt like, you know, I can't talk to this person because they're from a different, you know, race or ethnic background or religion from mine. I always wanted to open my mind more and explore more and see why different people, you know, think in different ways and act in different ways. So that's really was exciting time for me in 2010 when I came to Glasgow to study as a psychology student. I've met several, sorry, I want to say Lithuanians. I didn't meet Lithuanians, by the way, but no, I've met a lot of different people in university, and I met some Muslims when I was there. I met some Muslim ladies, and I was just thinking, like, they're really wonderful. Like the way they practice Islam and the way they, you know, they lead their lectures and they go to like a small prayer area and they wash up and they pray, and I don't know, and they always did a lot of students, Muslim students do a lot of like events at university promoting, I guess just trying to break the barriers, and you know, talking about hijab maybe one week, then the other week they would have a stand with like selling cupcakes and talking about Quran or whatever, and I always was really interested in that. Then a little bit later, just a few months later, I found the job in the restaurant. I started working there, and I remember about half a year into me working there, I've seen this, you know, I met this guy that I've never seen before. Where is he coming from, you know? And I remember having to ask his name, because by that time I was a supervisor, so I needed to know, you know, everybody that's working on the floor. And I asked him what's his name, and he said, "My name is Mohammed." And that much I knew about Islam. So I was like, "Oh, you're a Muslim?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm a Muslim." And I didn't really see much to him after that, but all I was thinking in my head, like, stay away from this guy. You know, he must be a terrorist or something. So although I was kind of comfortable with Muslim girls, because that's what I've seen in university, and I was, like I said, quite open-minded, but when it comes to Islam and Muslim guys, all the opinion that I've had created by that time was primarily from the media, which of course is extremely negative. You know, Muslim guys force their women to wear hijab, Muslim guys go to war and jihad, Muslim guys are terrorists, Muslim guys are this and this, like astaghfirullah, right? But these are the opinions that I've had and sort of like the biases in my head. So when I met this guy and he says he's Muhammad and he's telling me that he's Muslim, I'm like, oh, don't go near him. Although saying that, I did think, before asking his name, that he was the most handsome man that I'd ever seen. Straight off the bat, just telling you that, okay? So definitely was just like, ooh, I'm weak in the knees, like, who is that right there? And then I remember just coming to him and he's like, oh yeah, Muhammad. I'm like, okay, thank you, nope, shut the doors. But so over a few months of working next to him, you know, alongside him, I was just so surprised by all the wonderful qualities that he had. He was extremely polite and very respectful to women, which is not something that I've experienced working in like a restaurant / a nightclub type of place. A lot of guys that I knew, you know, if they are good looking, then believe me, they know they are good looking and they will do everything they can, you know. They will try to flirt with the girls, they will try to go on a dates and just all that type of thing. But I was looking at him and I was thinking, I don't understand. You know, does he not know that he's a good looking? Like, he's not trying to flirt. In fact, if a woman enters into the room, he would just turn the other way. He would lower his gaze, he would not, you know, look even directly in your eyes, he would not really smile or show much personality towards them. Although I saw his personality just blooming and bursting with laughter and joy when he talks to his friends. So I knew he's really bubbly, he's, you know, he's a wonderful person, but he's just so shy when it comes to women, and I could understand why. And I think that kind of sparked the interest, just seeing him being such a good employee, being such a good man, such a good friend to other people. I was a bit interested. So I think, oh, and also another thing, I don't think I mentioned in the last video, but by that time when my interest sparked, I knew that he's interested in me, because he would be very respectful to everybody and lower the gaze when he looks at women. But sometimes I would catch his eye, like I would just be at the till and I look up and he's staring at me, like polishing the dishes, literally staring at me. And you know when somebody likes you, you know, there's a spark in your eye, and I knew that I already started feeling something as well. So then after that what happened, I started talking to him a little bit more, but when I say talking, I'm not really talking about talking, I talk more about talking. Okay, what I'm trying to say, guys, okay, I'm trying to say that I went to him and I literally asked him, I started asking him questions like, how's your day? But he would be so shy to even talk to me. So, but I would still try. Every shift I would try to ask him like a small sentence, which his answer would be yes or no, because he's super shy, right? But what happened, I think it was like a month or two of that. And then, you know, we got to the place where we would at least say hi to each other at work. We wouldn't really talk, but we would say hi. And then what happened was I found him on Facebook. Oh, actually, no. He found me on Facebook. Yes, he did. He found me on Facebook and he texted me, and it was his birthday. I don't know why he was texting me on his birthday. Maybe he just felt lonely, far away from home, because he is from India. Probably should have mentioned that before. He is from India. So, you know, he was probably feeling lonely or something. And he texted me like, hey, how are you? Nice to see you on Facebook, or something like that. And that's where everything really started for me, in terms of sort of my two journeys started at that very point. My one journey towards Islam and my other journey towards being married to my husband. Because now the guy that I've met all these years ago there, the man who sparked that interest about Islam, that sparked that interest of love and, you know, romantic interest, he's my husband today. Okay, so let's move on, because this video is going to be real long if I keep on talking about how much I love him, right? So we started texting on Facebook first. We started messaging each other, and I remember asking him questions like, why are you so different? Why are you behaving in, you know, in that way towards women and towards other people? And he would always point me towards Islam. He would always say, it's because I'm Muslim, it's because of my religion. My religion is not allowing me to do this, this and that, or my religion is advising me to do this and this and that, and be the best person. And he always talked about Islam in the most positive way he could. He would say things, you know, Islam is teaching me to be the best employee. Islam is teaching me to be the most respectful to women. Islam is teaching me to be, you know, the best friend and all that. And now it kind of started getting clear to me where he's getting his inspiration from. But because of all the bias and all the negative associations that I've had to Islam, I almost felt like, okay, he's an exception, but Islam is still bad. Astaghfirullah. But that was what I was thinking at first. So then I started looking into Islam. At first it was almost that like, no, like, I'll prove you wrong. Like, you don't know what Islam is. I know what Islam is. Let me tell you more about it. So after a few sort of front and back question answer, I felt like I really don't know much, so I need to study. He was really kind, sent me a few videos or give me a few recommendations, but he never really wanted him to teach me Islam, if that makes sense. He never wanted to be the one, because he never felt confident enough in his own deen, and he felt like, what if I say something wrong to her? What if I say a thing that will make her feel like Islam is, you know, wrong in any way? So he would send me links to the scholarly articles or the articles of the, you know, parts of the Quran itself. He would just help me direct a little bit, but he wanted me to completely do my own sort of work. And I remember at first I was thinking, you know, it's gonna take a few days. I'm gonna Google why Muslim women wear hijab. Clearly they wear because their husbands tell them so, right? No. So I was totally wrong. But what I felt in my heart, that the only right way to do this research for me was to be just. So I felt like if I want to know why Muslim women wear hijab, I cannot look from the Western society's point of view, why Western society thinks Muslim women wear hijab. I need to look into why Muslim women think they wear hijab. Not Muslim men, not Western men, not Western women, Muslim women, right? So that's where my research started, really, and that's where all the walls that I've had created up until that point in my life shattered. I mean, question by question, misconception by misconception, with me allowing, you know, it all information to come in, I've opened my mind, opened my heart, and I let that information to pour in, and it was life-changing. It was transformative. I've learned how little I actually knew. So I did that for about 4 months. I mean, I'm still doing it, but I mean, I did that for 4 months until I actually felt like, you know what, there is God. There really is God. And until that, actually, I didn't really talk much about my religious background. I haven't really had one, to be fair. I was baptized as a Christian. I was meant to be, you know, Christian, but I've never really was practicing. My family now practiced. My grandmother, well, she went to church a few times, but she never really encouraged us to do that. So I never really had that religious upbringing. When I was growing up as a teenager, I always knew there was God's in my heart. But then I had issues with Christianity by the time I became maybe 13 or 14 years old. Especially with like a Trinity and Jesus being God and all that. And I remember when I was learning about Islam, because I always knew in my heart that Jesus was a human being. And when I've learned in Islam, and I learned in the Quran that in Islam Jesus is considered a prophet, I was like, duh, of course he's a prophet, like everybody knows that, right? And my husband's like, no, not everybody, like people think he's God. So, you know, so for me that was something like I just felt like I'm connecting there, you know. And I think the most breaking point, well, there are a few, but like one of the most breaking points for me was to realize that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are not 3 separate religions that have 3 separate gods, if you may, but it's one God. There is only one God, and these 3 major monotheistic religions are almost the continuation of one another. So say, you know, every prophet that is the prophet of Jews, every prophet that's a prophet to Christians, are the same prophets for Muslims as well, plus Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's really the continuation of the same message. Every single book for all 3 religions is essentially the Quran, or you know, the Quran is, if that makes sense, like it's the same book, it's the same original message from the same God to these people. And then it was up to people when the message would come down that they would over the time the message would just get, you know, adjusted, you know, bending towards politics or whatnot. So when I've learned that, it was just such an eye-opening experience. You know, it felt almost like, you know, Judaism is iPhone 5, then Christianity is iPhone 6, and Islam is, you know, iPhone 7. Is there iPhone 7? I think it's coming out. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was the same message, everything was the same, but it was almost like an upgraded version of it in a way. Like a newer version of the same message, that makes sense. That was definitely a breaking point. And I remember after 4 months of learning about Islam, I was sitting on bed, it was nighttime, and I was reading the Quran. And the Quran that I had, actually I think I still have it. Basically, it's one of the Qurans for people who are interested in Islam. So in the very back of the Quran, there were scientific miracles in the Quran, or scientific proofs of the Quran, of Islam, or of God, I don't remember. Something about science and Islam and Quran and all that. And I remember I was reading that through, and there were things like, for example, a description in the Quran, which is a book written 1,400 years ago, an exact description of the shape of the earth. Not round, not triangle, not flat, which, you know, people were thinking, later than those days. It just blew my mind, because I was thinking, there is absolutely no way anybody would have known that 1,400 years ago what's the exact shape of the earth, you know, where only 80 years ago scientists found that out when they went into space. So exactly at that moment, I bursted into tears. I was overwhelmed by the emotion, because for the very first time in my life, I knew for damn sure that there was God. There was not even a single doubt in my mind. And I remember at that time, I didn't even know how to pray. I just was crying, and I went and I put my head on the floor, how we pray now as Muslims. So I don't know, I don't even think I saw anybody do that. It was just a natural thing to do, if that makes sense. It was just such a gratitude and such a humbleness towards God. The only way to worship Him or praise Him or talk to Him was by bowing down. I just knew that he hears me. I knew he's here. He's everywhere. It was just such an overwhelming feeling. So yeah, so that's really how it was. And in that night alone, I just said my Shahada. I googled what I need to say to become a Muslim. I had so many uncertainties. I mean, I still had all these worries in my head about the terrorism attacks and things that happen, and I didn't clearly know why those people do those horrible things that they do in the name of Allah. Like, why do they think they do it in the name of Allah if Islam is awesome and it's so good? I still had so many things to figure out, but I knew that I have to be a Muslim. I have to be on this journey. This is my calling. This is my path. These are my people. I knew I'm gonna have, you know, so many problems from my family, from my mom, me being the only child, my mom, you know, being divorced, and I'm literally the only rock that she had. And if you think I had bad misconceptions about Islam, you should meet her, because what she had was just much worse. I think it's just because she didn't have as open mind, as youthful, open, flexible mind as I had at that age, being 20 years old. So yeah, so that's all the things that I knew. I didn't know how to do yet, or I didn't know how to pray. I didn't have any really Muslim friends. I didn't know where the nearest mosque was. I didn't know I need to do wudu. I didn't know anything. All I knew is that I'm Muslim. You know, that's who I am. I did take Shahada 2 more times, or 3, no, 2 more times. One was about a year later in this new to Islam religious organization, like a new Muslim organization. But then when I went to India to get married to my husband a year later, in the mosque in Mumbai, I was told that they can't accept that because it's from the UK, so I have like another Shahada in front of them. So technically I have 2, you know, legal Shahada certificates, but technically I took my Shahada 3 times. But that's my story, and if you're interested about what happened with marriage and that guy, well, what happened was I just, you know, after all the emotions went away, that night I texted him and I just said, I'm a Muslim now. And he was shocked. He's like, what? Like, I said, I just took my Shahada. There's no doubts in my mind. There is God and I'm a Muslim. And of course he was overjoyed, because he, in a way, he knew that he seeded that seed in my heart first, and it grew into this beautiful, you know, tree. So it was really special for me, it was special for him. And we continued chatting and talking, mostly just on Facebook, virtually talking. And I started exploring the options, you know, of potentially getting married, and I was already romantically interested in this man who's Muslim, and he seems like a great guy. So I think we started talking more about that, and we ended up, you know, getting married. I had to tell my mother, I had to do that. There's definitely something else to talk about how my parents reacted. I believe I have filmed a few videos. One is something to do with bringing our Muslim family to Islam. I think there are 2 videos with similar names, so if you go into my channel and Google that, I mean, type in that, you'd be able to probably find those videos where I talk more about like how my family reacted and how we've been since. A heads up, everything is great. They love him, his family loves me, we've met each other's families, you know, times and times again. We have a baby together, so all in all, it's a great journey. And I feel like if you are in a similar situation that I was in, or if you are, you know, you have romantic interest towards a Muslim guy or a Muslim lady, and you just don't really know what to do and whether it's going to work out or not. Every journey is different, everybody is different. You know, you are not me, I'm not you. His family or her family is not my family. So, you know, everyone's journey is very different, but if you feel in your heart that that's your destiny, that's what you have to do, everything else will fall in place. And you know, especially when you are really young. I mean, I believe that every few years, our life changes as young people. I think between the age of, say, 18 to 35, every 2 years you have huge changes in your life. It's almost as if somebody just comes with a duster, goes through everything, dust fly everywhere in a year. You have no idea what's happening in your life. But then you just need to give it time, you need to give it patience, and it all will settle in. and once it does, it will settle in most beautiful places. It will settle exactly where it needs to be, and although it doesn't seem clear what your future holds at this moment in time, believe me, as someone who went through that and came on the other side, you will get there. And once you do get there, you will look back at all of these months and maybe years of your journey of uncertainty as great lessons of your life, and you will see why it had to happen in a way that it's happening right now. Anyway, I hope it will give you some inspiration. I hope that it will give you some ease if you are on a similar journey, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video. If you haven't subscribed, definitely do so, and press that bell button so that you get notified when I upload new videos, which I do twice a week, every Monday and Friday. I see you in my next video.